All right, guys, happy asynchronous Wednesday. So I'm going to go over with you everything that we're going to be doing today for our lesson. So we're just doing the next aim here. So this is aim 13.5, and we're going to start talking about absolutism in England. And absolutism in England is a little bit of a different story than absolutism in other places. Absolutism in England is going to be kind of an evolutionary thing, okay? So they're going to start out with, at different points in time, we should say, it is more strict and controlled by the ruler, and at other times it's more democratic, with more elements of democracy introduced also. So it's kind of this kind of cyclical up and down, kind of ebb and flow where the power kind of fluctuates back and forth between ruler and people. So there will be times when the power of the king is strengthened and magnified, and there will be other times when the power of the king is limited. And we'll go through the evolution of absolutism in England kind of piece by piece. This will take us a couple of class periods, so today is the first of those class periods. All right, so aim 13.5, how is English absolutism different from other forms we have studied? So away we go. All right, so our story of absolutism in England starts with King Henry II in the 12th century. So we're going way, way back. 12th century is the 1100s, okay? So absolutism here is going to start with a struggle between the government and the church, okay? So Catholic Church. So this is, this is before Protestantism is really like a huge deal. So King Henry II is going to try to kind of exert his control over the Catholic Church, and that is how absolutism kind of begins in England. Now, we mentioned that absolutist rulers are always trying to control everything, and this is an example of a king trying to exert control over the religion. And like we've mentioned a couple of times already, religion is a social function. It's a function of society. So a king trying to control social aspects instead of just the political is an example of an absolutist ruler kind of exerting control over things other than just the political system. As we move forward, the power of the king will eventually become limited in some instances also. So in the first slide there, we were talking about King Henry II exerting control over the church. So that's an example of the power of an absolutist ruler kind of being strengthened, right? So here what we're seeing is the power of the absolute ruler kind of being limited. So this is that ebb and flow that we were talking about. Eventually, the English population is going to become unhappy with this strict form of absolutism, and they'll rebel. And the result of that kind of rebellion is what's called the Magna Carta, which is Latin for great document. The Magna Carta is a document that is going to be signed by the king. He's kind of going to be forced to sign it. And what it does is it guarantees certain individual rights to English citizens that the king or those in power can never really infringe upon. Later on, England will get its own Bill of Rights, but this is kind of a junior version of a Bill of Rights. So when you think about the Magna Carta, you should think about it in the same way that we think about kind of the Bill of Rights in America, right? The purpose of the Bill of Rights is to guarantee certain individual rights to citizens that the government can never take away. The Magna Carta performs a similar function. So the Magna Carta is kind of the first version of their Bill of Rights, and then later on in history, they will get what's called the English Bill of Rights. And it just kind of takes the Magna Carta and carries it forward and goes a little bit further. So in addition to the Magna Carta, the king is also going to be forced to establish a parliament, which is like a representative governing body similar to the America's Congress, right? The House of Representatives and the Senate. So in the past, the ruler, the absolute ruler, has no use for a Bill of Rights, has no use for a parliament. These are things that force the power to be shared amongst many instead of to be owned by one individual person. So, in the slide before, when we're talking about Henry II, exerting power over the church, this is an expansion of royal power. And then once we start talking about the Magna Carta and the establishment of Parliament, this is a limit to the king's power, right? So this is part of that evolutionary process that we were talking about. As we move forward in further lessons, you will see that power grow again, and then you will see that power shrink again. So we will go through a couple different chapters of this story, and this is the beginning one. So for today's asynchronous assignment, you have some classwork to do. You have a section of the textbook and a worksheet that goes with it. So make sure you check that out. Make sure you submit it by 11:59 tonight in order to be marked for present today, okay? So check the stream page if you need me. There will be virtual office hours posted on there. So if you have any questions about this work or any other work, including, the end of the quarter coming up or anything like that, feel free to check in with me on virtual office hours, all right? And as always, I'm here for you via email if you need me to, right? So enjoy the rest of your asynchronous Wednesday. I'll see you guys back again tomorrow. Later.